we just learned a lot about MVC, and so let's now very quickly refactor our code in order to fit that architecture a bit better. And actually we already have our controller folder here, and the tour and the user controllers in them, and we already have the routes here in the route folder. And so really what we need to do in this video is to create a model folder and create a tour model in there. So let's do that. So models, and in there the tour model.js. Let's close up these guys. And so let's go ahead and copy, or cut actually, this schema and this entire model declaration here and put it in the tour model. We will also want the mongoose importing here. All right. And in fact, let's get completely rid of this code. All right, so this here was just for testing and we don't need it anymore. So it has done its job. And so all we really want to do in this file here is to connect to the database, but everything that is about the models themselves will always live inside of a file inside of the models folder. All right, now in here, ESLint tells us that this variable here has not been used, but actually we want to use it because we want to export the model from this file. So module.exports, and this should actually be the only thing we export from this file, and so we use the kind of default export with module.exports. Okay, and so this is our very simple tour model that we created in the last lecture, and now here we put it in its own standalone file and then finally exported it from here. Okay, now where do we actually need this tour? So in other words, where are we actually going to create and query and delete and update tours? Well, we're going to do so in the tour controller, right? So right here. And so let's go ahead and actually import the model in here. So right here at the top, and I'm giving it the exact same name. So still tour. And now I want to require, so the current folder, then up one folder, and then down into the models folder, and in there, tour model. Okay, now of course it's telling me that I'm not using this variable, but don't worry about that for now. So next up, I want to get rid of this place here where we actually import the data as a JSON file. So of course, we no longer need this. This here was just for testing purposes. So let's get rid of it. You can also comment it out if you want to leave it maybe as a reference for yourself. Then just go ahead and comment it out. Then down here, we get this error because the variable that we just deleted is of course no longer defined. And so let me comment out this piece of code here, because again, we're going to need something similar to this. Okay, get tour. Let's comment all of this here out as well, just so that we don't get any errors as soon as we save this file. Then here actually we can get rid, well, kind of all of this. So we're no longer going to use any of this. So let me just keep this piece here. So I'm going to copy it, delete everything else from this, then put it back here. We still get this error. And so I'm commenting out this piece of code. All right. And here we don't get any errors. So let's just leave it like this for now. Okay. So what I just did here was to basically clean the code that we wrote before in order to no longer depend on the data that we had in the JSON file. All right. So now we should have no more errors, or actually we should in this check ID function. And this check ID function, we in fact no longer will need it. Okay, because from now on, we're going to start working with the IDs that are coming from MongoDB. And Mongo itself will give us an error if we use an invalid ID. So this function that we have here was actually very useful for showing you how middleware actually works by giving you this very practical example here. And later in the course, we will of course use more middleware, But this particular function here, we will no longer need it. So let's get rid of it, and also of this file system import, again, because we're no longer using the file here. So we still got some error here. Let's see what's happening. And it looks like it is in the tour routes. Okay, and so actually that's the one that I was gonna change next. So the problem here is that this tour controller.checkID, of course, no longer exists because we just deleted it. And so let's get rid of this as well. Or actually, let me just comment it out, okay? So that you keep in mind that you can use this .param function here to define parameter middleware in your own applications, okay? So I don't want you to forget that. And so just leave it here in your code so that maybe later when you come back to it, you still know that it's there, okay? So now I saved it, and so we're back on track here. So everything is back to working, and our code is now sufficiently well refactored so that in the next video, we can actually start implementing the CRUD functions in our API. So basically, getting all tours, creating tours, deleting tours, and updating tours. So one by one, we will start implementing these controller functions or handler functions, if you prefer that, starting in the next video.